Hey, I'm Friendly Baron, and my channel usually shows all the ways to save time in the GTA 5 speedrun. So today let's look at the ways we commonly lose time instead. In Prologue, the first shootout happens about 1 minute 20 seconds into the run, and since we play it so often, being near perfect is a must for the top runners. When trying to go fast, sometimes the AI gets stuck behind and you might randomly fail like this. We are trying to reach the car at the end to finish the shootout by about 2:39 or 2:40 on the timer, which is a good solid time for the first shootout. The next 3 minutes is part of why Prologue sucks in this game, and technically the biggest time loss in the speedrun. It's all unskippable cutscenes showing the failed escape and Michael's death. Almost every other cutscene can be skipped in the game except for these, so having to sit here and watch these every single run really is a drag. In Franklin and Lamar, the most common time loss is from losing Lamar. If we go just a bit too fast, usually in this corner, we will then be too far from Lamar and fail the mission. It seems counter speedrun to have to slow down in a speedrun, but that's how the game is and it takes some skill to figure out nonetheless. Also in this mission, getting lazy and reading chat or not paying attention to where the cops will move and will let them find you, and is quite embarrassing as they are so easy to escape otherwise. In Repossession, the obvious time loss is whiffing your shots on the shootout like you are a new recruit in military training. The other possible fails come from getting hit off the bike either on the highway here, or when making the right turn out here. These two spots have a high chance of you blindly running into a car you can't avoid. To fix this, I've actually started taking this jump over the trolley instead. It's about the same amount of time to get over to the end of the mission, but surprisingly, taking a massive jump in the air is safer than crossing the road. Holding Favours is not a very dangerous mission. The only time losses are basically losing the car on the drive back if it hits the curbs too much, which loses 10 to 20 seconds depending on how quickly you get it back on. Every other fail before this would cause an instant reset of the run usually for being so early in the run, but since this mission is past 15 minutes in, sometimes a runner may continue anyways even with the small losses. In Chop, getting a bad drive up the hill is the most common fail, either missing this brake boost or crashing the van on the way uphill. Can lose well over 10 seconds if you don't keep the slow vehicle's momentum up. It really hurts if you have to regain all that speed going upwards. Driving the yellow BJXL back to Simeon's and complications can be a real hazard. The car is all-wheel drive but has a front-wheel drive bias and is extremely top-heavy, so it's quite a lot to handle at high speeds. Traffic can be kind of unpredictable, and since Franklin is speaking with Michael, you aren't allowed to use his power to steady yourself or brake boost. Once at the dealership, we do quick punches that beat on Simeon, but these can be pretty unwieldy like a drunk Michael fighting, and you may shove Simeon, knock him over, or just straight up miss some punches, all losing 5 or more seconds each time. Father-son is a real pain of a mission. I made a bonus guide on my Twitch I'll link in the description for anyone who wants a full breakdown of how it works. Basically, we are trying to get Franklin on then off the boat as quick as possible. Missing the rear of the boat coming down the hill and not getting him on is a big time loss, as his animation cycles won't start until the tunnel instead, 20 seconds later. Later, when about to get him off the trailer, after shooting the guy off the back, you have about 4 seconds to get Jimmy down before Franklin starts a fail to get up animation. If you can get Jimmy down before then, Franklin gets up right away, but if you are too slow, Franklin goes through a full trying to get on top of the boat but fails cycle of animations that takes like 10 seconds. Marriage counseling has 2 possible failure points. One, if you mess up the tricky drive up the hill. This drive requires you to slow down a little bit just before the hill to not get too much airtime, but also maintain speed. If you slow down too much or go too fast, it's a shameful fall back down the hill then a 20-second drive up around the long way, assuming you don't mess that one up either. Coming back down, a glitch is done by the speedrun to turn the camera around then force it back while still holding the look back button. If you don't keep the camera looking forward as the car turns, this can make the enemies spawn and it takes at least 20 seconds or so to clear them out by the time you stop, shoot, and then move again. Friend request main time loss that doesn't involve crashing your motorcycle like an idiot comes from not getting a great vehicle right away. Motorcycles are ideal here, as you have to get on and off the bike often, and their top speed is good for this long straight drive. But sometimes you might find yourself running down the freeway for a bike for a long while. Daddy's Little Girl has nothing notable besides crashing, or missing shots that can really cause much time loss. But oh boy, Case in the Jewel Store is where some fun begins. So the speedrun drives from the hospital over to Lester's place to start the mission. But during that time we need to get 1 text from Martin and 1 phone call from Amanda. Problem is, there's 4 texts that can possibly appear instead, and you only get one of the batch every 20 seconds. so we sometimes end up just sitting here waiting for the message. The Martin call isn't important because it's required to start the next mission after this one. The Amanda call is important because without that phone call, it will place Michael on this far side of the map about 15 minutes later into the run when we switch to him instead of next to his house. You wait at this mark on the ground, as going any closer will make the mission despawn when you receive the call. So you gotta wait back here, sometimes up to 40 seconds of a wait if things go poorly for you in order for the messages to randomly arrive. The next mission, Carbine Rifles, is even more, let's say, fun. Sometimes you won't get the text to start the mission right away and have to sit on the road waiting. Once it finally spawns, getting the truck is messy. We leave the car and run backwards, as that puts us in a good spot to get the truck and not have the cop spawns be too close. It's a balancing act of shooting the truck's occupants early enough they don't run you over, but also not shooting so early that they are far away. Sometimes the traffic can go nuts and hit you, or help out and hit one of the cops. Then once you have the truck, avoiding the cops is next, and ideally you lose them right away. If the helicopter that spawns in every time is in a bad spot, it's going to catch you a second time and refresh the cooldown. Or a cop in the oncoming direction will reach you early, especially if the runner shot the SUV too soon or didn't leave one guy alive. Knocking one over is done on purpose as it slightly delays the rest of the cops being spawned in. The Jewel Store heist's biggest time loss is from losing the friendly bikers by accident. During this overland route, instead of following them in the tunnels, the speedrunner is teetering on the edge of being too far away from the teammates. Taking turns too well or wheelie boosting just a bit too much will make you outdistance them, and that's a 60-second time loss on average on the spot we tend to have gone too fast. The long stretch is a weird mission, as you can do it really fast alone, but have to wait for NPCs or Lamar and Stretch to keep up with you. And there are tons of cases where they might get stuck and you lose a minute not noticing, or sometimes you run through the end of the shootout a bit fast and they die for no reason. Another minute of time loss. After the mission to begin Mr. Phillips, there's a 10% or so chance that instead of Michael being at his house when you switch, he's over near Lester's house on the east side of the city. That chance goes up to 100% if you didn't take Amanda's phone call as we talked about earlier. Save warping back over to Michael's house from the bad switch loses you about 45 seconds, but at least the loading screen girl is nice to look at. We'll skip ahead the Nervous Ron, as it's got one of the most ridiculously long fails in the game. At the end of the mission, after flying from the Fort Zancudo-ish area, you have to land at the plane and put it in the hangar. Now, let's say we have a bad landing like this. Well, it's still going to play the 40-second unskippable cutscene explaining how businesses work in the game. Then after, and only after the cutscene, the mission will fail instead of passing you. This respawns you all the way back at Fort Zancudo, having to do the 90-second flight again. But the biggest laugh is that you then have to watch the unskippable cutscene again. Not even your death pleases Rockstar. They really want you to learn how to use those single-player businesses. Friends Reunited has one of my favorite common fails, and it's almost worth the 20-second time loss. When placing the C4 in this mission, the speedrun just drives through instead of going in all stealth-like. The NPCs start realizing what's up and shooting at you as you almost finish the loop around, and rarely they get off a lucky shot and blow up the C4 straight from your hand. It's happened to me like 5 times, and it takes a moment to register that it actually happened every time. Dead Man Walking, I love and hate this mission. It's got 3 parts and all 3 of them are likely to screw you over. Well, number 1, the blimp is all fun and games until you goof it up and Michael doesn't fall into Davy's zone of protection, meaning you are spawning at the hospital and spending another 90 seconds driving back up there. Once in the mission, the shootout in the mortuary is pretty scary downstairs, as the speedrun tries to skip most of the shootout. Getting to this guy with the gun causes issues if you're a little bit too slow. He'll take cover and can't be knocked out in one punch before you can steal his gun, and then you are stuck in a fist fight against many angry FBI agents. I've never personally been able to win said fist fight versus bullets fight. Part 3, escaping the cops on the drive. Very often the cops will spawn in a bad spot, causing you to lose 10 to 20 seconds making a detour. But the biggest mistake you can make is getting the cops close to the mission ending. You see, Franklin is sitting here at the end, but you can't go to him until you've lost the cops. If you get close and the cops do too, the cops will start shooting at Franklin as the NPC. If he dies, you are spawned back in the city having to do the 90-second drive all over again. In Hood Safari, the speedrun relies on the AI of Franklin and Lamar to take out 2 of the enemies in this car while we play as Trevor and take out the rest. You can watch the minimap and grab the final guy if your NPC buddies don't help out, as most people may be used to. However, if you run ahead anyways, the mission will fail early and serve you up a nice 30-second time loss. In the next jet ski section, we need to rid ourselves of the helicopter. There are 2 ways to do this. One is a simple application of C4 to the helicopter. The other is by turning around precise enough in this location, the helicopter will then despawn as you get far away enough before it can catch back up to you. If the speedrunner fails to do both of these things, then the chopper will chase them back to the shore and delay the end of the mission. There is a counter for this, the bush. The helicopter is not advanced enough to see you through this camouflage. However, Rockstar still has to one-up the player, as the helicopter has a full circle of vision instead of the indicated cone on the minimap, so if you run out early, the chopper sees you again, further delaying the end of the mission. Scouting the port is great, is what I would say if it was a good mission at all, but it's actually really long and tedious. The worst part about tedious things is when you still have to pay close attention to them. While driving the dock handler, there may be an NPC manager walking around the docks as you haul the cargo. Hit that guy and you are failing the mission, losing up to 40 seconds and redoing all that crate moving. The mission probably best known for time loss is MiniSub. Similar to the case in the jewel store earlier, we are waiting for a text message to start the mission. The message is from Wade, and he must be bad with phones, as it can sometimes take 2 whole minutes for his text to come in from the pool of 8 or so possible text messages here. It's a real drain as you aren't exactly looking forward to actually driving the sub after either. The cherry on top is this series of text messages also commonly receive what we call phantom text, where the 20-second passes and a text should come in, but nothing happens anyways and you have to wait a total of 40 seconds for a single message. The text message saga continues in the BlitzPlay setup missions. We have to wait for 3 messages: Stephen Haynes' meetup, Lester's message to Franklin for the hotel assassination mission, and the caller text for the Merryweather heist. Any one or multiple of these missions can take ages to spawn in, again with plenty of phantom text that could appear too. On top of that, we need a garbage truck and a tow truck for BlitzPlay itself. While getting them not at all is very rare, getting an early tow truck saves a minute, and I am pretty blessed here because I seem to get lucky tow trucks quite very often a lot.
You shouldn't have. It was not even your birthday. Can I just take the tow truck right? Oh my goodness. I saw this tow truck earlier. I can't believe it stayed. Wow, that is good RNG. Okay. Oh my god. No! Come on! 2 days in a row. Why? Why?
Hey, thanks for watching. If you are new and like the video, I've got a bunch more like it on my channel, and if you like some of those, please consider subscribing, as even if you only use recommended, it'll make you more likely to get my videos in your feed and really helps me a ton. I made this video because I wanted to cover common things that happened to me during my runs, and also because I'm putting out a special full run in a few days on my YouTube too. My roommate, who also happens to be my sister, and I were both really sick the past few weeks, but I'm back to feeling better, so here's a quick preview of videos coming up. Weekly videos shall return, and see you later.